right, well, good evening. We're glad that you're here tonight. On behalf of the J. Lewis Crozer Library, Director Dr. Mark Winston and Assistant Director Joanne Simone, I'm Susan Waller, the head of programming, and we welcome you, and we're really looking forward to an informative program. Students have been playing video games since the dark ages. That would be the 70s and the 80s, 1970s and 80s when I was a student. But in 2014, the first collegiate eSports program began.
Yeah.
Recent figures from 2020 indicate that there are now more than 200 varsity eSports programs around the country, which have distributed upwards of $15 million in scholarships. There are eSports associations, conferences, tournaments, and even a national championship. Tonight, we are pleased to welcome directors and coaches from 2 institutions of higher education to tell us more about playing eSports in college. So please welcome Ryan Plummer. See if I can get this spotlight here. And he is the coordinator of eSports at Montgomery County Community College, and David Deal, who is the Associate Athletic Director for Facilities and Operations at Newman University. We were also supposed to have Devin Harnett from Widener, but he is not feeling well and so was unable to participate, but I just wanted to mention him because he was instrumental in planning the program. So tonight we're going to talk about a few things, define eSports, talk about the structure of programs, academic and career connections, and preparing for collegiate play. And then there'll be a little bit of time, we think, for question and answers. So gentlemen, I'm going to turn the panel over to you. And I think Ryan's going to start, and they're going to kind of tag team. But we'll start with defining eSports.
Yeah, really excited to be here. Thanks for having us. To talk a little bit about eSports, I think it's important to understand kind of more, as Dr. Waller, you kind of talked about more of the structure surrounding eSports. Understanding that, eSports is not just, kids in their parents' basement playing video games for 8 hours on end, never leaving their couch, etc. There is a structure surrounding this. This is something that's being supported by colleges, universities across the country. You're seeing national associations like Dr. Waller talked about. And so this is something that kids have an opportunity to earn scholarships and have an opportunity to compete for colleges and earn prize money. And, at the highest of highest levels, you're seeing kids as young as 20, 18, 19 making a living off of playing esports at the highest level. So it's important for us to kind of understand that we're coming from that angle of esports.
Yeah, absolutely. And I echo Ryan's sentiment about excited to be here. And I will also continue on what he said, to where long are the days gone, where it's just, the sitting there, everyone else is outside and we're sitting there behind a screen playing video games. That stereotype is out the window. It is $1 billion industry right now in esports. It's not only playing, there's the broadcasting side that we'll get into. There's coding, to actually get into games. There's a number of different areas that you can get into that are all surround, quote unquote gaming and the esports world. But it is a legitimate entity, a legitimate business, and we're expanding upon the collegiate world. And Ryan and I are going to touch base on this as we get a little bit further along. But we're treating it very similarly, if not identically, to all of our traditional sports. The baseball, soccer's of the world, and every other sport that you can think of. We are recruiting students for esports just like you would for all of those. And it is a real part of institutions across the country.
All right, so why don't you tell us a little bit about the structure of your programs and genres, teams, eligibility, practice, all of those kinds of things. What does it look like? I think we'll start first at Montgomery County Community, and then what does it look like at Newman?
Yeah, so for us, we, for those of you who don't know a lot about Montgomery County Community College, we're a 2-year community college institution. We don't have dorms on campus. We don't offer scholarships for esports or athletics yet. So our structure looks a little bit differently than some of the other programs that offer esports. That being said, though, esports for us is considered our 8th varsity sport. We do treat it exactly like we would any other varsity sport, including things like when we're on campus, we have required a physical because we do a physical portion for our program. And so there's structures, and we consult with nutritionists at our college to help build a nutritional program surrounding that as well. We offer 5 esports right now. We offer Rocket League, League of Legends, Overwatch, Hearthstone, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So those are the 5 kind of esports that we compete in on that. Most of those games are team-oriented games. Hearthstone and Super Smash Bros. There is more of an individual component in some events, but we also offer, for instance, Smash Bros. Crew Battles, which is more of a team-oriented event for that as well. We compete in multiple leagues, and you're seeing that kind of across esports right now, is that a lot of programs are not sticking to, for instance, like just the NCAA. For us, we compete in NACE, which is the National Association of Collegiate Esports, that allows us to compete against both junior colleges and 4-year schools, universities across the country. And internationally, you're seeing a lot of Canadian schools in these collegiate leagues as well, too. And then we also compete in the National Junior College Athletic Association's esports division. And then we also have, several other leagues to compete in, including, Philly Esports Aces League, and we're looking at a few other leagues this semester as well to participate. So there's a wide variety of different leagues and structures that we can compete in that. We do have, because it is a varsity sport, we do have some, I wouldn't call them strict eligibility rules, but eligibility rules that follow similarly to our traditional athletics. Students are required to be enrolled in at least 12 credits each semester they participate. And then they must maintain a 2.0 GPA and ensure that in every semester where they're taking 12 credits, they have to pass at least 12 credits with a 2.0 GPA as well in order to be academically eligible. Because of that, we do have support structures in place, study halls. We have faculty mentors that can help. We do biweekly grade checks as well that ensure that our student athletes are staying on top of their grades. We talk a little bit about that structure piece. The academic piece is just as important to us as the esport piece, because if you don't pass your classes, you can't participate in esports at the varsity level. So there is a lot of that structure surrounding that. So that's a little bit about our program. And I know, David, you're going to share a little bit about Newman, which looks different than our program.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. So it does look a little bit differently in the respect that we are a 4-year private institution right here in Delaware County in Aston, Pennsylvania. We have about 2,500 students, about half of which, maybe a little less than half right now, reside on campus. And we offer 23 NCAA, we field 23 NCAA sports and 8 club teams. The eSports is one of those club teams on campus. But please don't be mistaken. We treat all of our club programs very similar to our NCAA programs. All the same requirements, and not to be redundant to Ryan, but you have to be a full-time student, which is a minimum of 12 credits. You have to maintain a minimum GPA of 2.0. And then you have to go through all the medical clearances like any NCAA athlete would as well, regardless of the sport. So that's a physical, health history form, emergency contact form, concussion baseline test. So all of those same parameters are required for our eSports club, like they would be for any other athlete on campus. And in terms of, we started a program in 2018. We played in a number of leagues similar to Montgomery County. We started in the ECAC, and we played, we've also participated in NACE with Rocket League, and we're getting ready for the first time ever to participate in the Aces, Philly Esports Aces series. The number of titles that we've been able to support teams in to participate in, Rocket League, Overwatch, Fortnite, Madden, and Smash. So far we've competed in 5 different titles. And that's one thing that you'll probably learn a little bit further as we go down the agenda here, not to jump the gun, but the verbiage is a little bit differently, so it's, and I've had to learn that through my time here is it's titles versus games. And really, to Ryan mentioned about the NCAA and why you compete in a number of leagues. Esports is a little bit different in that the publishers of the games have a lot more say and really all the say in the control of what tournaments can be run and operated at any given time. So you partner up or you register your teams in different leagues based on those tournaments that each publisher is offering. So well, we've been fortunate enough to be able to compete in a number of different leagues, have been pretty successful. Right now, for the upcoming semester, we're focusing on Rocket League, excuse me, Rocket League in the Atlantic East and Aces. And we'll also be doing the Philly Esports Aces series. Sorry. Clear my throat here. Excuse me.
All right, thanks so much. So next, we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about academic connections and career connections. And I think, David, you were going to start that off and talk about the overlaps and overlays between classes that students might be taking or career trajectories that they might have in mind and how they intersect with esports.
Absolutely. Thanks, Susan. So I touched base on this a little bit when I did the introduction, but there are a number of classes that are directly tied to esports, even though you might not think that they are. I mean, communications, business, video editing, all of those things can be directly correlated to the esports world. Data analytics, there's mathematics, all of those things from a coding aspect, all can be translated directly into the esports world. And you're seeing more and more institutions actually developing those programs specifically to the esports world, where they may have had, for lack of a better word, they may have had the old school coding classes. Now they're actually calling it esports coding or game coding. They may have had video editing and broadcasting. Now it's broadcasting in the Twitch world, right? So there's different titles, course correction or course changes that are being adjusted to, because as I mentioned before, it is legitimately $1 billion industry. So how do you attract and the number of, how do you attract individuals that are interested in that to your campus? What differentiates you from all the other 100 universities across the nation here? And it's these types of programs, because in a $1 billion industry, as you can imagine, there are a number of jobs associated with that. So you need to train them properly. And that's where all the institutions are beginning to look at that a little bit closer. We've started to dip our toe into that water here at Newman University. Please make no mistake, we have a long way to go. We've literally dipped our little pinky toe in there, but that's the direction that we want to go, is we want to start mirroring the competitive club and esports playing world with an academic world into one program. And that's the direction we're looking to build and continue to develop our esports program, to where it literally takes both sides of the institution and puts it together into one whole well-rounded program.
Yeah, and I think you're, like you said, you are really starting to see a lot of colleges and universities start to move in that direction. There are colleges and universities now that actually offer esports management degrees as well. I know Harrisburg University up in Harrisburg, PA is one nearby that focuses on that esports management. As someone who went through a sport management program in college, I can definitely speak to how that helped me to understand more of this varsity athletic side of esports as well. And I think that if that's a career path that you're looking to get into, I wouldn't say it's at the point where it's a requirement that an esports director has an esports management degree. I certainly don't think that. You see a wide variety. I know people in similar positions and esports director positions that have IT degrees and they work with the IT department. People that have, like you said, communications degrees can fit into that esports field as well. So I wouldn't say that's a requirement, but it is something that if you want to get into the esport field, that's something to look at as a potential as some of these colleges begin to offer more of those esports management degrees.
Yeah, and Ryan, just to piggyback on you there, to get away from the esports world for 1 second, my piece of advice for anybody that's on this line is don't get wrapped up into what your degree says. Worry about the experience and the content that you're learning throughout your time at a particular institution, whether it's a 2-year like Montgomery County, 4-year at Newman University. I've worked with a number of individuals where their degree has no correlation from a title perspective to what they're actually doing on a daily basis. What they took the skills that they learned there and they applied it to their profession. And, you know, like Ryan and both mentioned, you know, communications, broadcasting, event management, general business, accounting, like all of those things you can take and apply to the esports world. Again, you know, I've said it a number of times, and I think it's worth being redundant here. $1 billion industry. You have to run those events with thousands of people. You have to know how to run an event. You have to know the business operations of an event. So all of those courses that, you know, seem like, there's general courses. No, those are all tools that you're going to use when you take the next step in your professional careers.
Yeah, I've hired 2 assistant coaches so far since I've been at Montgomery County. One with a neuroscience degree, so not even, you know, relating to esports. Another with an IT degree. And I hired them because experience experience wins out. You know, one had had managed esports programs before and played semi-professionally with an esports organization. The other working very closely in broadcasting esports events, things like that. That experience is always going to win the day over more specific degree choices.
Okay, so the last area that we were going to focus on tonight was preparing for collegiate play. So I think that most of the folks who are on our call right now are in middle school or high school. So what are the things that they should be doing now to position them to be an esport athlete at the collegiate level?
Yeah, I can go ahead and start with this one too. So there's a few things that you can be doing right now that's going to help you as you're applying at colleges and looking to get involved in programs. For one, you know, there are certain qualifications that teams are looking for. Not every, you know, we don't cut at Montgomery County Community College. Some colleges do cut. Some colleges will only recruit specific rank requirements, etc. So one of the biggest things that you can do right off the bat is work on growing your rank. I know that among a lot of collegiate esports programs, you know, rank isn't necessarily like, it doesn't quote unquote matter in the sense that, you know, I have players that are starting that are lower ranked versus higher ranked type of thing. But when you are talking to other collegiate programs, the very first thing that they're going to look at is they're going to look at your rank. And that's going to be where they kind of judge based on where you're at in that title. And so that can be really important for colleges to kind of understand where you're at, because again, we're getting requests from a lot of different people. You know, we're recruiting a lot of different people, and so we don't necessarily have time to go through all of the film and break down, oh, even though they're this ranked, they're playing at this level type of thing. So that can be really important. Another important thing is any type of team experience. And we talked about experience in the workplace, but it also factors into playing esports at a collegiate level. If you have any type of outside experience playing with an organization, playing with a team, maybe you have a Smash crew, maybe you're playing with a Rocket League team, entering tournaments together. That can be really important. That's something that can separate you from other people who might be playing at a high level, but who don't necessarily have that team experience. I deal with that. I'm sure, David, you also deal with this a lot with players that come in that haven't played with an organized team before. And even though they're very highly ranked, it takes time to get adjusted to playing with the team, and the structure is a little bit differently on that, especially in games like Overwatch, Rocket League. That can really be a factor. So any type of team experience that you can have is certainly going to help. One of the biggest ones, absolutely biggest ones right now, is academics. Have to, you know, colleges are looking at your grades. They're going to be looking at your high school grades. We require every student that comes to our program to submit a high school transcript. And so for you to kind of reassure these programs that are going to be looking at you that you're doing a good job on that academic side, you need to make sure that you're passing your classes, getting good grades, following through with that, graduating high school, really, really important. And so make sure that you're staying on top of that as a student. And then, you know, one of the biggest things that you can be doing right now to prepare yourself for college and to kind of garner interest is reach out to colleges directly. A lot of colleges, there isn't really a standard kind of recruiting structure among collegiate esports right now. What you're seeing is, you do have some programs like Next College Student Athlete, which you can always get involved in. Some programs like that, but you're looking at some high school leagues, maybe like HSEL. But there isn't really like it's not like basketball where I can go and watch a high school basketball game and I can scout every player and I can look through and say, okay, this player is someone that might fit into my team, this player is not. And so one of the biggest things that you can do is just reach out to colleges that you're interested in. If they have a program, reach out to their coordinator, reach out to the director, maybe send film over, say, hey, I'm interested in your program. That's going to put you above a lot of the other players that they may be looking at from a collegiate perspective. So I'd highly recommend, being the one to initiate that contact.
Yeah, Ryan did a great job talking about, all the ranking and the team experience. But at the very end, he touched on a great point. Advocate for yourself, right? No one's going to advocate more for you than you, right? So advocate for yourself, be proactive, reach out to those programs that you're interested in, and tell them why you think you're a good fit for the club. But it all comes down to really two things. One, and Ryan did mention this, is academics, right? You have to be able to get into the school as a whole. So you have to do a good job with your academic studies in the high school level. And then when you get to the collegiate program of your choice, you have to maintain those academics. The number one priority here at Newman University is for all of our athletes, NCAA, club, esports, what have you, is to get a degree. That's our number one priority, is to get a degree. If you're an esports participant or a rugby participant or a women's soccer participant, whatever sport you have, that's icing on the cake. It gives you that well-rounded, wholesome experience, full collegiate experience, but the number one priority is academics. So do whatever you can to maintain your academics. And when you focus on the high school level, institutions like Newman University, because we're a D3 institution, we don't offer athletic scholarships for any of our programs. And that includes esports, but the better you do it academically, you're going to get a higher grant scholarship from the university itself. So anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000 a year if you come to Newman University, depending on what your GPA is coming out of high school. So academics is very important. So definitely want to focus on that. And then from an esports specific perspective, yeah, it's all about your ranking because it is a little bit more difficult to watch pull-up film to find your competition. So you look at ranking, and then when you get to campus, hey, how do they fit with the team world? But one thing to keep in mind when you start researching these schools is not only about how competitive their esports club program is, but again, putting on my whole university hat here is make sure it's the right fit for you in general. That it's going to be a place that you're going to be comfortable spending the next 2, 4, 5, 6 years, whatever program that you decide to enroll in. Make sure it's going to be the right fit for you. There's a number of institutions out there that offer esports program, either very competitively or recreationally, to where you'll find a program, but you need to find that university first and foremost that's the right fit for you.
One of the things we had mentioned in our notes when we were planning, I've got this written down, I'm trying to remember what we were saying. What about, are people playing professionally and getting paid to do this? How does that impact, if somebody's doing that in high school, how is that going to impact their ability to play at the collegiate level? We certainly know on the NCAA side of things, if athletes are compensated in some way, although I know the NCAA is changing that a bit now, but if athletes have been compensated in the past, they really jeopardized their collegiate careers and maybe even the standing of a school program. So could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. when you're looking at esports right now, and again, a lot of it is league dependent. So like you said, the NCAA has the specific rules, but other athletic organizations may not have rules like that. However, in esports, what you're seeing is almost every league has gotten rid of the amateurism clause for esports. You can make money, you can get paid to play esports, and you can play with professional organizations and still play in college. Now, obviously, that's dependent on the league, and some professional organizations will say if you're going to play for us, you can't play for a collegiate team. That's a bit rare, but and a lot of players really are if they're playing professionally, they're not playing in college because they're not going to college a lot of times. But there isn't any type of amateurism clause. You can still win money and compete collegiately. Is really kind of the kind of basic thing right now.
Yeah, it's one of the advantages of not, being an official NCAA sport right now is that you have that luxury. And it's also one of the advantages of where the publishers of each game has that more control in that. But it all depends, to Ryan's point, like, esports is a ever evolving, ever changing, organization. So stuff is going to come down the pipeline. It could potentially change, but right now, yes, there are no restrictions on that. It just depends on which league that you're associated with. One of our leagues that we competed in with NACE, it was all of the schools that are in our conference that our NCAA teams compete in, which is the Atlantic East Conference. So because it's associated with the Atlantic East Conference, then yes, there could be some additional restrictions there, but not necessarily across the board from every tournament that we participate in.
Yeah, and a lot of players too playing collegiately will have sponsorships from organizations. That's allowed as well. Now the leagues may have specific restrictions on what type of sponsorships you can have. Like I know, for instance, Collegiate League of Legends, you can't have, I think tobacco sponsorships or things like that. But players are competing collegiately with sponsorships from different organizations and making money that way as well.
Yeah, and each institution may have restrictions on those level of sponsorships as well. As a Catholic university at Newman University, we would restrict a number, of those things: tobacco, anything related to alcohol, sex, those types of things that we would probably put a restriction on based on the sponsorship. And getting back to our first point about finding the right organization or right institution for you, take a look at what type of titles they're playing, because at Newman University, we're not going to sponsor or enter a league tournament that is a first-person shooter title, right? So because it goes against our core values. So you want to look at that. Oh, if you're really passionate about Halo, Call of Duty, those types of programs, well, then Newman wouldn't be the right fit for you if you're looking to play competitively with a team. If you want to play by yourself, and yeah, absolutely. But if you want to play part of a program, structured program at an institutional university team, you have to make sure that they are going to, field that program and operate in that title. So every organization, every institution is going to look at that a little bit differently. It just happens to be the core values at Newman that we look at. That's kind of where we set the standard or set the parameters. Is like, okay, first-person shooter games are out. But we can look at some alternatives to that are a little bit in the grayer area with that, like Overwatch and Fortnite of the world. But there's a rationale behind it. As crazy as it sounds, it is a little bit of a gray area, but there is some rationale behind it. But have those conversations in advance, so that way like, oh yeah, no, this is they're never going to play the game that I want to, or they play the title that I want to play. All right, let me look at a different institution. Or yep, they played that title, they're willing to explore that title. Let me continue to go down the road with this institution.
All right, I know you mentioned grades, the importance of grades and academic scholarships. Are there other types of scholarships that might be available to students for their esports ability? I know we had talked about skill-based scholarships or.
David, you can.
Sorry. And Susan, I think, yes, there are opportunities, just not at my institution right now. It doesn't sound like at Ryan's either. So, but there are institutions across the country that are offering performance-based scholarships, athletic-based scholarships for esports gaming. And, you just have to find that right fit for you. And that takes you a little bit more homework and due diligence on your end. But there absolutely are programs across the country at all levels, from an NCAA world, to put it in that terms, D1, D2, and D3, that are offering performance-based scholarships. Currently at Newman University, we're not doing that. We're tying everything to the academic side of the house.
Yeah, and like David said, like I think the structure is a bit different too, right? Where you may have, for instance, an institution that doesn't offer athletic scholarships because they might be NCAA D3, but because esports is separate from that, they may offer esports scholarships, performance-based esports scholarships. And there are plenty of opportunities surrounding that. Like David said, the institutions across the country are offering scholarships. It's rare that you're finding full ride scholarships in esports right now. There are programs that offer that. But it's very rare, and you do need to be playing at a very high level to be able to receive some of those. But there's a very good variety, and we deal with this because, again, being a junior college, a lot of our players are going on after they finish at Montco. They're looking for a scholarship at a four-year school to finish out their careers. So we deal a lot in trying to find scholarship programs, and there's a wide variety of scholarship programs. Some programs are, if you play on the esport level, everyone gets a base $3,000 scholarship. If you're on the team, whatever you make the cut, that's it, you get that. However, some schools are, they may give more if you're a higher level player, or if you're just participating on the team, they may give less. So finding that information, again, really stems from talking to the programs, like David said, promoting yourself, talking to these programs, understanding what their scholarship system looks like is really important. And then we have dealt with programs that offer scholarships for the production side of esports as well, too. So programs that may offer scholarships, for instance, we had a player get offered a partial scholarship to be a broadcaster, to live stream the matches at the university and be involved in that production side as well. I know for us, we don't offer scholarships, but we do offer student worker positions, so part-time positions where students can come in and work at an hourly rate, get paid to live stream games and to work with our program, be involved in practices. So there's a wide variety of different opportunities for students to get involved and earn money in one way or another through the program.
So I heard grades, which is music to my ears. Make sure that you're doing the best you can in your classes and getting the best grades you can. Rankings, which means you're playing, obviously. You're playing these titles a lot and improving your skills. And then be proactive. So I know we talked about two websites, and I want to put them in the chat right now. We talked about the NAC eSports Online. Is that correct? Or my notes correct? All right. So NAC eSports Online, and folks can go there and look for the directory of schools. I'm sorry. I don't have the URL, but I do have the title. So I think you can probably Google that. And
yeah, I can post.
Can you put the
well.
URL in there?
Yeah.
All right,
So
and then the
other general page there. Oh, wait,
okay.
Sorry, I just sent that to David. Sorry, hold on.
All right.
There we go.
Okay, and then also there was berecruited.com. So there are two resources for you if you're looking for higher education institutions that have esports programs, and they'll tell you about their programs, and you'll be able to do that research, because that's the third point that I really heard was about your need to be proactive and find the programs, the places, the schools that are going to fit who you are and what's important to you, and offer the programs that you want, but also have an esports program that will fit your needs and your interests as well. Is there anything? I think we do have some time. We can open it up for questions, but if Ryan or David, you want to add any final thoughts before we go to questions?
Yeah, real quick to talk to, I just put another link in there. We've recently gotten involved with Next College Student Athlete, which has an esports specific recruiting page as well too. So I linked that in as well. And yeah, like you said, I think, Be Recruited and Next College Student Athletes offer that direct link where you can have a profile and colleges can reach out to you. You can reach out to colleges. The NACE Esports Directory is really just a list of almost every school in the country. You're looking at probably 70 to 80% of the schools in the country that have a program or involved in some way in that directory. And so that's an awesome way for you to be able to search specifically, does this college have this program? Who do I contact if I want to get involved? And what type of scholarship money can they offer? Are things that you can find out through that directory. So would highly recommend that.
All right, anybody have any questions that they would like to ask? You can unmute and ask, or you can put it in the chat if you prefer to type rather than talk.
Don't be shy. We're nice guys. So,
They are, they
feel
really
free.
are.
Ryan's much nicer than I am. Don't let him kid you. But
I don't know about that, but
feel free to jump in. And like Susan said, put it in the chat. I can also put in my contact information if everyone would feel more comfortable to send me an email directly. You can do that as well.
Yeah, I'll put my email in there as well too, so that you can reach out to me.
So, Landon, you had for schools like yours, is there also a freestyle team for Rocket League? So, yes and no. I mean, that'd be more of, your unaffiliated, just kind of open rec play. So there is opportunities to do that. We would, all of our esports program our club members, we have a, kind of your starting roster and then your academy roster after that. So you're going to focus on for practicing. And it's one thing we didn't mention. We practice 2 to 3 times a week, probably about twice a week we practice, and then the games are maybe 1 or 2 other evenings, depending on how many tournaments or how many leagues that we're participating on at any given time. But you'll be able to have open play outside of that, all throughout the day or evening, as long as your schedule allows and you don't lose focus on the academic side of your experience at the college world. So yeah, there's absolutely to do that. In our program at Newman University, we've done where eSports Club has actually hosted tournaments or really open play for the rest of the population. So they may say, hey, come out and join us for this. We've done Madden tournaments. Come out and participate in a Madden tournament hosted by the eSports Club, just to kind of, give back to the university in general, and also while it's publishing and promoting the club and what programs that they have coming up. And then before I turn over to Ryan, one of the other question was, do we broadcast our games? Yeah, we've had broadcasted live our games using our Twitch channel. We've done that on a number of occasions, and the program that Ryan's team and our team is going to do with the ACES series with Philly Esports, they'll broadcast all of the league games live as well. So depends on the game, depends on the evening, but yeah, most of our competitions are broadcasted live through our Twitch channel.
Yeah, to talk a little bit about the Rocket League freestyle. So right now, there's not a lot of freestyle competitions involved with Rocket League. I think freestyle, a lot of that would be, if I had to, again, I'm not aware of a ton of freestyle competitions for that, but it's probably more subjective judging, giving you a rating based on what that is. And so while there may not be necessarily that at a competitive level at colleges, what I would say is if you can get good at freestyling, I would highly recommend you start building a brand, start posting clips to Instagram, start posting clips to TikTok, post on these social media sites, start posting consistently, maybe doing YouTube videos videos, highlight reels, things like that. You know, if you can freestyle at a high level and start building that following, not only will that obviously give you some notoriety, allow programs to kind of look at what you're doing, kind of maybe make you known in the community, but also and start building connections that allow you to improve your team play capabilities as well. You know, technical skill, which you know you're going to be displaying in those freestyle clips and things like that, is so important. It's, you know, that teamwork aspect is something that a lot of players don't necessarily come in with experience on, but if you have that high technical skill, we can work on that teamwork ability when you get to the college. And so I would say, you know, keep working at that freestyle stuff. You're not going to be competing in freestyle competitions at the collegiate level, but it will absolutely help you with your Rocket League game as you move in. In terms of broadcasting, like David said, we try to broadcast every one of our titles, every one of our games that we compete in. It may not be every match. There were some scheduling conflicts where, you know, Rocket League and Overwatch were playing at the same day at the same time. Okay, so we would rotate Rocket League and Overwatch for that day, and then, you know, we're in multiple leagues, so they may get, you know, maybe Fridays is Overwatch, Thursdays is Rocket League, and then Monday we rotate between the two. But we do try to broadcast all of our games, and yeah, like David said, and David, if you have your Twitch link as well too, I'm going to post our Twitch link in there if you guys want to follow along with us. You know, you can follow us there, and that's the main way that people are viewing and spectating our matches. It's very different from traditional athletics where you have everyone packed into the stadium. And I do think, you know, when you're looking at the pro level, they are doing that, but at the collegiate level, everything is really virtual. You're watching through that live streaming link there. Just got a question too, is there a rank esports team really look for Rocket League? A good question. It depends on the program. I would say a lot of the programs that we play against, especially the 4-year colleges, they're looking at least champ level, probably high champ level, for you to be able to participate. We live in a very good Rocket League area. I know a lot of our Rocket League teams, like for instance, for us, we're one of the better junior college teams in the country, even without offering dorms scholarships, just because the talent pool in the Philadelphia area is really good for Rocket League. So for colleges in this area, you may be looking at grand champ level, you know, low grand champ to high grand champ, depending on the team. For instance, like I know our average rank last season at the junior college level, we were probably averaging around champ 2, but every single one of our players had on our starting lineup had been grand champ at some point in their career. So it really depends on the college is the answer, but I would look to try and get your rank up into the champ level. And if you can get into high grand champ to SSL, that's where you're really going to start getting a lot of those higher level scholarship offers.
All right, any other questions? I sort of really didn't understand all of that, but I think the bottom line was you need to be pretty good at the game. And so I'm so grateful that Ryan and David are here and know exactly what they're talking about. And I just want to thank them again. This has been recorded, so we're going to put this up at the Crozer Library's YouTube channel. I am going to save the chat again, although I think some of those questions didn't go to everybody, so I might not have them, but I'll at least have the links and email addresses. And what I will do after it's up at YouTube is if you registered for the program tonight, I'll send you that link and put some of these URLs and the emails in that email to you so that you have all of that information. If you know folks who weren't able to come tonight, by all means, please share the link with them. I know we had a few people who weren't able to be here tonight, but are looking forward to being able to watch the recording. So if there are no other questions, then I think that we will stop recording and have a good evening and stay safe